Oh, good evening, Jackie. Welcome to another video. And well, it's now Monday. At least, as of recording this, it's still Sunday. But now, in this one, I'm going to read a little script I created originally from a certain TikTok that I like. But I'll link that one in the description for you to watch if you want to watch the original video. This is history, by the way, so just want to make the trigger warning. It'll talk about some interesting topics. Now, let's begin. It was in 1923 that Hitler was brought up on charges of insurrection against the German government. He was tried, found guilty, and given a little slap on the wrist and became a convicted felon. Despite being treated more than fairly by the judge and judicial system, Hitler claimed that the trial was nothing more than a political prosecution, a witch hunt, and successfully portrayed himself as a victim of a corrupt social democratic government. Hitler was able to manipulate the public and position himself as the voice of the common man, holding frequent campaign rallies where he spoke out against the elitist and cultural degeneracy. Branding the establishment as Marxists and communists were people who would take from the good, hard-working German people and give it to the lazy, to the foreigner, to the undeserving, and only he would be able to stop them and save the German people. Only he could make Germany great again. That was just part of it. Now, we already see some ideas of, one, in 1923, the insurrection against the German government being the beer hall putsch, if I'm pronouncing that right, I probably ain't, but still, that is Hitler's version of our modern day January 6th. At least Hitler was jailed eventually, but then released not so much long later. But while in jail, that's where he wrote Mein Kampf, if you didn't know, by the way. He also claimed that he was being politically prosecuted, something we see today with a certain fella, if you know who I'm talking about. He was also able to manipulate the public and position himself of the voice of the common man. Interesting. He had frequent campaign rallies. He claimed the establishment of the government were Marxists and communists. He claimed that those same people would take from the good, hard-working people and give it to the undeserving, the foreigners, or what we call today the immigrants or the illegal aliens. That's what some people would call them. And supposedly only he would be able to save them or save the country and supposedly make the country great again. Make sure to make that note. Now, let's continue. He gave fiery speeches claiming the educational system was indoctrinating the children to hate Germany, hating their traditional values and ancestry, and promised to return Germany to greatness. He too rallied the base. Hitler had successfully targeted and blamed minorities for the nation's problems, exploiting already existing social divisions with an us versus them narrative. Many Germans swallowed this bait. And Hitler's Nazi Party grew in popularity, and he became chancellor in 1933. Now, so far what we see, he gave a lot of fiery speeches, claimed the education system was indoctrinating the children to hate Germany, and basically hate their ancestry. Where do we see that now? Pretty interesting. Like PragerU, if we want to name some people, just name a few. He also promised to return the country to greatness, in his words. He also managed to target and blame certain minorities for the supposedly nation's problems. He also used an us versus them narrative, perhaps, saying that only that we are the ones who are loyal to our country and they hate our country. If you know where I'm going there, you should know. Now, a lot of people of the same who were already vulnerable often swallowed that same type of bait. Let's see if you know who I'm talking about. Now, once in power, he appointed German oligarchs as his political and economic advisors. He proceeded to privatize government-run utilities, which caused him great favorability amongst the nation's economic elite as their profits soared. the working class distracted, fighting amongst themselves over meaningless issues like culture wars and ethnicity, the Nazis shut down labor unions and abolished strikes. Progressives and trade unionists were imprisoned and sent to concentration camps. Corporate profits skyrocketed to heights never seen before, while the working class Germans were living paycheck to paycheck. Well, that is very much that last part there, where corporate profits skyrocketed to heights never seen before, and the working class Germans, or the working class people in this case, living paycheck to paycheck. Something we still see today here in America. We have a certain someone reporting some oligarchs privatize government-run utilities, which resulted in favorability among the economic elite already, as their economic elite's profits soared, giving the working class distractions to fight amongst themselves over meaningless issues, as we already covered. Now, to continue, Hitler amassed great wealth and became a billionaire in his time when adjusted to today's dollars. Rumors of his dirty dealings, kickbacks, and income tax evasion swirled around him and his associates at all times, but they kept those rumors at bay with a continued narrative of, "It's only a political prosecution," he claimed. Nothing he was ever accused of or was ever his fault or his doing, he claimed. It was all evidence of a corrupt system trying to stop him from saving Germany. Multiple assassination attempts were also used to provide evidence that he was the chosen one to save Germany from an evil and corrupt system that the good, hard-working German people were languishing under. Yeah, that much, claiming that he was being politically prosecuted once again, and he used anything he could to claim that he was the supposed chosen one. Very much similar to what we have today, if we look back at what's going on in the last few months in terms of American politics. He and his gang of oligarchs could get away with scam indefinitely, so long as they had an enemy within to blame. The deep state, if you will. Meanwhile, they themselves turned the German government into a corporatocracy, a government run by corporations who robbed the nation blind. Hitler targeted minority peoples to focus the anger of the public and keep them distracted. Now, this next part here, I want you to keep an open eye and think of what has happened over the last few months, especially earlier this calendar year. Retroactively revoking birthright citizenship for Jews and began rounding them up with mass deportation, charging them with being illegally in the country. Does that sound familiar? Perhaps? Maybe? Probably. Let's see if you know what I'm referring to in the modern day. The German media, under Nazi rule, supposedly highlighted instances of violence by Jews and convinced the public that the Jewish immigrants were a danger to the real Germans. Hitler worked swiftly to dismantle democratic institutions and replace any people or mechanisms of government that could be used against them with sworn loyalists. All ranking department heads of military commanders were replaced with loyalists. These individuals often had no knowledge or experience with the position they now held. But that didn't matter. Only loyalty mattered. Loyalty wasn't just encouraged, it was demanded. Opposition was silenced by any and all means necessary. That in itself sounds vaguely, not just vaguely, but very similar to what's going on if you have been keeping up with modern news. So, media that day questioned him was demonized as the enemy, ex-Marxist and communists, a part of the deep state that needed to be eliminated. Any voice that spoke out against him he used as fuel against the enemy to feed his loyal followers. The Nazi Party propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels bragged about how Hitler was able to intimidate the media into giving him favorable coverage to where he didn't need to give them direct orders. Then that self, who likes to brag about being able to do good things? What kind of secondary position likes to brag about how his upper man Supposedly, his boss always gets praised by the media that we often already seems to praise him. If you have the answer, you can comment down below in this video. The Nazi regime and his followers collected books they thought or saw as promoting degeneracy, or what might be considered today as woke or leftist, and they would burn them in large bonfires. They also burned books that promoted class consciousness and ideas of equality. Similar to what's going on now, maybe not in the sense of book burning, but still book banning. Still similar. Berlin had a large LGBTQ plus community in the 1920s, and they even had the first transgender clinic, which is amazing, by the way. Props to them. Most created and done heavily with the work of Magnus Hirschfeld, who was an amazing person. I just want to comment that I love his picture hair, I love his beard, his mustache. It's amazing. It's beautiful. The best mustache I've ever seen, you could say. The best mustache ever. I'm quite jealous, to say the least. Now, on the other hand, the Nazis lit fire to the clinic and burned it to the ground. The LGBTQ plus people were sent to the concentration camps and forced to wear triangle badges. The Star of David, if you remember. Many were killed during the Holocaust. The Nazi Party proclaimed that masculinity was under attack, and manhood itself was being destroyed by the rise of feminism. By 1934, Hitler proclaimed that a woman's world is her husband, her family, her children, and her house. Progressive laws that had provided women with equal rights were repealed, and new laws were introduced to restrict women to the home and in the role of wives and mothers. The claim to be bringing back the family and ending this era of dangerous feminism that was destroying the heart of the German family. Very similar to what is kind of going on in certain circles, if you understand where I'm going with there. As if they claim that masculinity was being, what was the words exactly? That masculinity was under attack by feminism, by women having rights. Some say that the certain movement from the 1900s, 1910s is the turning point of where America decided and supposedly became a horrible country afterwards. Supposedly. Now, also abortion had been legal under German law. However, the Nazi Party worked swiftly to replace those laws, and doctors who performed abortions could face a death penalty. In spite of Hitler having declared himself as Führer, or leader, or what we might say as dictator today, most Germans continued to go along unbothered, as did most of the world. What we see now, I'm caring for what's going on in politics, or apathy, or being supposedly apolitical, which I gotta say is a privilege. Perhaps if they had a history of an evil right-wing authoritarian dictatorship to look back upon, to judge the offense they were witnessing, they would have recognized the signs and made better decisions. Unfortunately, most did not see what was coming, or chose to ignore it, or perhaps they just hoped for the best, whether by ignorance or by complacency. The failings of the German people resulted in the killings of nearly 100 million people around the world on the higher end, some rest of World War II. Some estimates go between 60 to 75 million. Some go as high as up to 100 million. It very much depends on your sources. Now, to end this off, may we never allow this to happen again. Now, if you were paying attention, this can repeat, in a sense, this could trace back to what's going on today. If you have been paying attention and looking between the details and connecting the dots, you should know what I'm trying to spell here. Now, overall, history often likes to repeat itself. Maybe not repeat in every single way, but often either repeat or rhyme. The difference between reality and fiction is that fiction has to make sense. Reality is often unpredictable at times. Sometimes it is predictable, maybe sometimes not in the when category, but sometimes in the what. Depends on some certain people. What else could I say? Right. So, I'm basically kind of speechless now, because I've lost what else to say. Now, I'm gonna say, just look back in history and take a history textbook and actually look through what has happened. We are told that the Nazis were bad and the Holocaust was bad. Sure, there's no debate there. But we're not always told of how Hitler gained power, what strategies he used, or how to spot a fascist, how to spot a Nazi, how to spot these type of peoples. Otherwise, how do we prevent it if we don't know what to look for? By the time the German people realized that it was a dictatorship, it was too late already. And they were kind of forced to deal with it. If we want to prevent not have this happen ever again, like never again, we have to learn from history and look at actually what happened. The truth, history may be uncomfortable, but it's important. You must learn history regardless of how comfortable or uncomfortable it may be. That's the final message here. The message I'm coming out here. History is important. Those who do not know history are prone to repeat it. Now, if you like this video, hopefully you enjoy it. Comment, like below, subscribe. On the other hand, I'll see you on Wednesday for the next one. Goodbye! And have a good one. Anyway, y'all have a good day. See ya. Goodbye. And also, y'all see Jackie tomorrow. I just want to let y'all know that. Anyway, goodbye.